Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and I'm joined with Matt Atkinson, who is my Ottawa friend. Basically, I don't know many people in Ottawa that collect comics, so he's one of the few people actually that I know in real life that collects comics. So he's actually the first comic person to be in this comic room. Every time I bring people,
feel humbled.
Every time I bring people to this comic room, it's always people that know nothing about comics. They're like, "Oh, those are nice." And I'm like, "Oh,
it's better than it looks on camera, guys."
It's a mess. When he got here, it's like a total mess. There was comics everywhere, and I've been trying to sort of semi-organize since he's been here, but yeah, it's been a bit. Hopefully, not too disappointing. Let's get into it. We're gonna find out. I'm gonna learn your origin story in terms of how you got into collecting comics, and yeah, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I got into comics because my dad and my uncle were into comics. My uncle Brian bought a lot of books when he was younger, and they ended up in with my dad when I was a kid. So when I was about 5, my dad pulled out the big box one day. It was all Silver Age DC, from 64 to 69.
Oh wow!
Yeah, my uncle's pretty close in age to me, considering, actually.
Oh really? Okay,
yeah,
that's
he's
about
nice. 10, 12 years older.
But he's old enough.
Old enough to have bought the books,
then,
but you know, young enough that I mean, he's kicking around. I still talk to him about it, actually. So yeah, and inside was a lot of Superman, a lot of a bit of Batman, a lot of adventure comics with the Legion. That was a big influence for me. A lot of a few Wonder Woman, and this was all before she became mod. He didn't seem to buy any of those.
The mod ones are
he didn't buy any of the
acquired taste.
And there was about 6 or 7 Justice Leagues, and as I said, the Legion. But there was, Superman, Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane was the bulk of the book, and there were quite a few 80-page giants. Unfortunately, most of that collection didn't survive me making 10 years old.
Oh no!
Well, between my sisters and I'm 5 and 6, they just they get used, they get read. A lot of them have disappeared, but I have been personally putting it back together.
So does he still collect as well?
No, he stopped, and that was one of the reasons we ended up with the books. He moved out of his house, out of my grandmother's house, and he didn't bring them with him. And my dad wanted to read them. Okay. And then they just ended up in Ottawa with us later.
That's cool. That's that's always good.
I'm from Barrie originally, so my uncle still lives there.
Yeah. It's weird. You picked like the 2 snow belts of Canada. Barrie, for those people that don't know, Barrie's it's sort of like a bedroom community of Toronto, and it's like the snow belt.
It is the snow capital of Canada.
It's like so much snow there, and Ottawa is kind of similar in its own way.
Ottawa has its. We had a nice easy winter this year.
This year was
I've been here when it's been 3 or 4 years ago.
My first year when I was here, I was like, oh man, my family wasn't here. I was all by myself. I couldn't get into my car. It was like it's totally buried. And I was like, oh man, I'm gonna starve.
I had to try and ease my way out too. They got pretty high.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So your uncle got you into it, and you just kept on collecting since then?
I collected for a few years until I was also into hockey cards a lot back then in the 80s. I collected comics until about 1989.
Okay.
And then I moved out on my own not long after that, and I had to get rid of. That was the first time I had to get rid of the collection because there was no room. There was I didn't have the space. And then I picked it up again a couple years later and put together a small amount, but then I had some financial setbacks in the mid-90s, and I had to sell them again then.
Okay. Actually, not a bad time to sell.
No, I got out just as everything was going crazy. I remember I had bought The Vengeance of Bane for the cover price and sold it for $40 at a show.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
and that was not even 3 months after I bought it.
well, I remember like Spawn 1. You know, I remember it being
Spawn
on
was everywhere. Valiant.
They put it up on the, you know, they always had it like on the shelf. Oh, that's a shelf book.
Yeah.
You know, and then it was
all
like
those Valiant books.
$50 or something crazy. It was just like, what are you thinking? And it's, you know, it was more expensive back then than it was now.
Yes, and relative. I mean, like compared to, I mean, it's all comparative. And back then, I was working in a grocery store making 50 cents above minimum wage, which in Ontario at the time was
like
$4.69 or something.
Oh, wow.
Small. It was and I was living like I was paying rent and all that stuff at 19, right? And you know, other than that kind of stuff. And then I became interested in music. I tried to become a rock star. Didn't work out, obviously.
He's not a rock star.
No,
so.
no. But I did pick up collecting again in 2010. And what piqued my interest in it again was the fact that somebody actually mentioned that there was a Buffy book that continued the TV series.
Okay.
And I am a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, Buffy. I love the movie. I really like the movie.
I watched the movie not too long ago again.
Oh, really? It's great. It's a great movie. I just thought it was so funny. I was like,
it's great. And then I've watched the series over and over many times. I used to watch it with friends, and I used to watch it by myself.
Yeah, it's quite well written.
Yeah, I mean, I don't own very many DVDs anymore, but I still have the 7 seasons of those. Those are not going to leave. And so what happened was I started buying Buffy season 8, and then the next thing I noticed, there was a Supergirl who's another
character you like.
Big character I love.
I think we have something in common. We both like the girls.
We like the girls. We like the girls. But I mean, I've always had Superman in my heart. He's always, I've sort of identified as sort of the fish out of water. I've always felt that way. So, So, and considering that's what I read mostly, I didn't really read Marvel at all. No one I knew that I hung out with on a regular basis was into Marvel. I knew people around town who were into Marvel. Ottawa at one point in the 80s had 19 comic stores.
19, yeah. So that's
unfortunately we only have 7 now. So it's,
no. Like during the 90s, there were comic shops everywhere. It was like it was insane. Like
there was one at Rideau called Web Slingers. That's
I think I've even heard of that one.
Yeah, they had a couple. They had 2, maybe 3 stores around town. They were though the place you didn't really want to buy books unless you're really into Marvel, because they were overpriced.
I think I went to them back in the 90s.
That's possible. They were in Ottawa till 98.
So I was on a school field trip, and I think I bought my Plastic Man #1, which was not it was not a key in any way. I thought it, like they said, I said I really like the Plastic Man character. I want to get his first appearance, and that was the it was like $2. It was like
that's cool.
Yeah, that was,
Plastic Man is fun.
Yeah.
And basically, so next thing I know, I'm buying Supergirl, and then I saw Adventure Comics had come back, because like I guess you could say I started at the tail end just before they became the New 52.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, I was buying Marvel books too. I at the time I think I went from 0 to 60 and sort of ended up subscribing to about 25 books within 2 months, and I've been buying ever since.
So do you buy the modern stuff?
I do buy I'm currently subscribed to 15 series.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's no Buffy currently, but I've got Buffy on my list, that any Buffy that comes out. Whenever it comes out. It's the same with Aliens. I like the Aliens the Aliens title.
How about the Predator and stuff like
that? The Predator not so much. I mean, I like the movies. The movies are great, but the Predator comics, I didn't like them as much.
Okay.
But the current Marvel Aliens ones were pretty good.
Okay.
I subscribe to, action, detective, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, like that kind of stuff. Series. Justice Society.
Like still no Marvel
and Titans. Oh no, I do have Fantastic Four. I do Fantastic Four. Okay. It's right now probably my only Marvel book though.
Yeah.
For Marvel, I for those out there who are familiar with Lunch Money Comics, Mike.
Yeah.
take DC and Marvel the way he is and flip it. I like the Marvel supernatural weird stuff.
Okay.
But I'm a DC guy where he likes the Marvel.
So I actually
likes the DC supernatural
I actually
stuff.
like the DC supernatural stuff. I like Justice League Dark. I think that's really
Justice
awesome.
League Dark is a really good book. I liked it a lot.
So yeah, okay. That's interesting.
Anyway, that's my origin. I just,
His origins
I don't do a lot outside of reading comic books and working, so.
Well, one of the things that you told me when we were just sort of hanging out and talking was that you read you make sure to read 5
I try to read
a day.
5 books a day at least, yes.
Yeah, so...
I'm, as I was telling Alan earlier, that I've read everything I've got, apart from this pile that I'm still working on.
Okay, you got the
that pile that was this big is now this big.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
So, but yes.
This room is my pile that I have to read at some point.
This room is this room's awesome, guys.
It's a bit of a mess, but okay.
No.
So I have like a ton to read. Like that, I actually really respect that because I've read maybe I'd say 5 to 10%. It's really low percentage of my books that I've read. Because I just don't have the time for it. So I really respect that dedication.
I consider myself more of a reader than an investor. I mean, I don't sit there and go looking for hotkeys or whatever. When I go to the comic show or the comic store, I have a list of stuff I'm looking for, and I am an OCD completionist. I am trying to put together full runs of some big books. Like I have every action from 325 up.
Okay.
I have every when my current comic shop order comes in, I'll have every Superman from 299 up. I've got every post. I have a copy. I have a copy of every post-crisis Superman book.
Wow.
I've got every single Supergirl book where she's the lead. As in, the adventures she had, every Supergirl.
So all the adventure comics that have
from 381 to 424, I believe.
I sort of went down that rabbit hole for a little bit, where I was picking up. I'm a cover. I like cover buys. I'm a bit of a cover biased. I just liked all the different costumes that she had.
The costumes are great. I will admit that the costume era was quite interesting.
Yeah, it was.
There are quite a few. I brought us some books tonight. There's one Supergirl in there.
Let's take a look at the book. Nobody likes us. We know this. We know nobody watches this channel to see me.
That is true.
We watch it for the books. So let's get into some of the books.
Well, what I've done today is I brought books that there's a couple here that are my best books in terms of value.
Okay.
But what I did was I brought books that are significant and mean things to me.
Well, also, and it showcases your collecting
and it gives
style.
a bit, I mean,
I think that's a good.
I mean, yes, there's going to be a bit of Superman because, again, most likely. But I do have a huge number of Batman and Wonder Woman. I really like the Trinity. I really like the Titans. I really like the Justice Society. And I have a whole run of All-Star Squadron, and I've got the whole run of DC Comics Presents.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good series.
That was not a cheap series because there's actually 6 books that are over $100.
Well, there's a few big keys. I mean,
they got the 47 with the He-Man, which is actually in my pile here. You got 26, which is the first appearance of Cyborg.
Yep.
And Starfire and Raven. You've got 87, which is the first appearance of Superboy Prime.
Yeah. And
there's a couple other. There's also the Black Adam book.
Wasn't there the first Dark Knight in one of the DC Presents? Am I getting that wrong? Or...
Dark Knight, I don't.
And also Watchmen. I thought it was it wasn't that DC Presents.
No, I don't think there's any Watchmen in there.
I got it. I'll have to look it up afterwards.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so show us some books.
All right. We'll start with my only slab. Compared to this room, it's, this is my only slab. It's,
but you read them, so that's...
Yeah, I know. This is the only book I own that I haven't read.
And it's a 9.8, though.
Yeah, it's a 9.8. Amazing Spider-Man 617. And it's the retailer incentive version. I got this from the Ottawa Comic Con auctions.
There's always a trick to the angle.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. I got it from an Ottawa Comic Con auction they were holding during COVID to keep the brand alive. Unfortunately, Ottawa Comic Con didn't get to come back when Montreal Comic Con, which are run by the same people, that we had to lose an extra year because the EY Center was being used as a storage facility for the local COVID vaccines.
Okay.
For a while. And
so here's a couple things you gotta. This is what I always do with my collection. I always say, okay, you gotta brag. So your collection, his collection is entirely 9/8.
Sure.
See
there we go.
See that works.
And here comes one 9/8 now.
No, see, you can see it's all 9/8 size. See?
This comes from the CC. I bought this originally from the CCG pedigree.
Yeah.
It's my first Golden Age book, and it's a Matt Baker. It's called Teenage Temptations #5. And
actually, you can. This one doesn't reflect as much. The slabs reflect more. So
okay, so
this is actually a cool book.
This is amazing. I'm just waiting for the official paperwork to get the pedigree.
Yeah, exactly.
And this one was really interesting. And I brought this because it's the first Golden Age book that I bought, and it's the oldest book I own. Mm-hmm. Although a couple others are close. They are pretty close. Like, for example,
we got this one together.
This one. I was at a comic show with Alan not too long ago, and I bought this. This is World's Finest 82. And it's from 1956. And why I like it is because Batman and Superman in the story get sent back in time to the era of France to find out who the man in the Iron Mask is. Yeah. And they become the Musketeers. And
they got the 3 Musketeers.
Yes, it's got it it's on the cover. But what I found interesting the most about the book was they got sent back in their secret identities. So they had to make absolutely certain they did not lose their clothing to make sure they could change back before they got sent back
to the modern era.
To the modern.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I found that really
actually
neat.
I always liked the story of the man in the Iron Mask.
Yeah,
I always liked that story. I was a big fan of the Musketeers as a kid. I don't know why.
I've heard that it's true, but at the same time, there's no evidence. So
it's like I think it's Louis the 15th or 14th.
Yeah, that there's an alleged twin brother or whatever that was locked up to make sure that they didn't have the claim. Lineage. That they wouldn't get the throne or something.
Yeah.
Next one is a Neil Adams cover that I really think is very undervalued.
I actually haven't seen that book before.
This is Action Comics 419.
That's really nice, actually.
It's also the first appearance of the Human Target.
Oh, nice.
And this was the last book I got in the 400 line for Action. And this was hard to get. Neil Adams himself did not like doing this cover because he did not like having the photographic background.
But that was really popular at that time.
And Neil actually told me that for real. Neil Adams, before he passed away, was in Ottawa just about every year for the Ottawa Comic Con. So I talked to him 5 or 6 times. He's an interesting character. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really cool cover, though.
Yeah, it is. It is a fantastic cover. A friend of mine has this blown up as a poster without the trade dress, and it's hanging in his geek room.
Oh, wow, nice.
And until I had actually gotten that, I was like, that's a cool picture. I wonder which comic it was from. And then I finally saw a picture of that one.
With this one, I almost have to ask you a question once you show it. Show it, and then I'm going to ask you a question about it.
Yes. This is
I know this book.
Yes, I know. This is the next one is the second oldest Action comic I own. Mm-hmm. It is from July 1959. And its significance is it's the first appearance of the adult Bizarro. Because everybody knows that Bizarro started...
I was curious how you're going to frame it. Yeah, that's cool.
Bizarro started in a Superboy story. Mm-hmm. I don't remember if it's Superboy itself or Adventure Comics, but I know that it was in a Superboy story. Mm-hmm. And that Superboy Bizarro
it's
died.
Actually Superboy 84, I believe.
Okay, yeah. He died in the story. That much I
Yeah,
remember.
he dies at the end.
The end. This is the Bizarro that sticks around. And here he is. He's got a big green kryptonite rock to keep Superman at bay because he wants to be Superman. That's the interesting part about the story. Mm-hmm. He wants to be Superman. But also this book is only the third appearance of Supergirl.
Oh, wow.
No.
So, you know, it's funny because like there are people that will say that other Superboy, other Bizarro, I should say, is not Bizarro at all.
Yeah, and the thing is, they called him Bizarro.
Yeah, they called it. He was, you know, he was, and they call him the Bizarro prototype, and they call this one the first appearance of Bizarro because this Bizarro doesn't die,
right?
And it continues on. So that's that. I was curious what your take would be.
But
so.
What I liked about the New 52 was the Bizarro in there had a very interesting way of getting his name, because he was created by Lex Luthor in the New 52, and his code name was B0.
Oh, that's so cool.
So when he came out of the Matrix was created in, or the tube or whatever, he saw B0, Bizarro, and it became Bizarro. And I thought actually that was a neat...
that's a neat way of doing it.
Little trick that they did.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, my next book is a very familiar one.
This is an awesome book.
I'm sure that just about everybody knows this one, and or either has it. I know that at least a couple of you watching this, I'm sure, have this book.
This is awesome.
This was the my first big boy book when I started buying comics again, and this one is All-Star Comics number 58. We all know who made her first appearance there. We also know what else made their first appearance there.
Yeah,
but
like such a great book.
Yeah, interiors, Wally Wood is the inker, and he's the reason why the window exists.
The window, yeah.
And we know, I'm sure we've all...
The window to our hearts.
Yeah. All of us longtime fans of Alan's channel know how much he likes Wally Wood. So
yeah,
I'm sure he's got this
somewhere. I
like
Power Girl a lot. So Power Girl, that's... Yeah, that was actually one of my first All-Stars that I picked up, by the way. And
All-Star Comics was one that I picked up a couple issues when I was younger at one of the local comic stores. If you're from Ottawa, if you remember Arthur's, you'll sort of go, oh, yeah, that old crank. And but I had bought some of them back then. And what I liked, apart from the fact that it's written by Paul Levitz, who also wrote the Legion, some of the Legion's best stories in the 1980s and 70s. Paul Levitz was very creative. I liked that they added to the background of the world. Earth 2, Quebec was independent. As someone who lives in Quebec, that's a very significant thing. Apparently, Montreal is the capital of Quebec, not Quebec City.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Also, apartheid was stopped because Dick Grayson, in this All-Star, is a lawyer, and he went down. He was an ambassador briefly. He was the ambassador in South Africa, and he managed to convince the government down there to get rid of their apartheid.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So,
I mean, that's a great book. I mean, and actually, I was looking at it. It's really nice shape. It's like a really good.
This is actually this is one that I'm on the fence about getting graded.
It'd be worth getting graded.
I do have the Showcase Presents the black and white books collection for all of All Stars comics, so it's not like I can read the story again. It's just a case of it's one of those, you know how the cost of
slabbing is
so
expensive.
I'd like to know where they base their values personally.
Yeah, so crazy.
If anybody out there knows that, put it in the comments, because I'd like to know where they say, oh, well, it's 4% of this value. Well, where are they grabbing the value? There they going, oh, let's see.
I think they use they use some kind of Go Collector, that kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes I kind of think that they could overgrade just for getting better money, for themselves.
Which is possible, but I mean, when you're relying on the grade, you gotta. I mean, someone's got to be the final. I won't want to say price. This is it, bang. But I mean, like, if you're gonna have something that everybody can agree on, we're gonna use this source, whether it's Overstreet or whether it's Go Collect or
actually, if they use Overstreet, I wouldn't mind.
I love it. Well,
the pricing is like
I am a soft spot for Overstreet.
Me too. Actually,
I've bought my first one. I think was 18, as in like the 18th edition. Not I was 18, and I mean I don't have the older ones anymore, but I've got all my ones from 40 on when I started collecting again. In fact, I started buying books and bought the Overstreet within 2 weeks. The current one at the time, because I wanted to make sure, I wanted to know okay, like the history, because
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's a great book for the history. If you want to look up first
Yeah,
appearances,
you're right.
or,
And then they do have articles.
or like, you know, yes, and the articles are fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
I like them a lot. I like to read the market reports too, just because they make for good reading.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a guy the guy who runs the one comic store in Barrie currently, called Big B Comics, is one of the
Writers for
no, well, he gives one of the market reports. He's like Steven. He's an advisor as well.
That's cool.
Now, this next one is one of my favorite stories. It's not worth a lot necessarily, but it's just, it's a really good story. And I'm going to give a little background. At the time that this book was purchased, this was still a huge mystery. Now, for a lot of people, it's still a huge mystery, but DNA has solved it. It was Kolansky. And I am referring to Jack the Ripper. This is Lois Lane 108, where the villain is Jack the Ripper.
Okay.
What he's done is somehow he magically goes through the dirt that he used for his killings, ends up in Lois's hands through a relative of the thing. And this man named John, as a ghost, talks to her.
Oh, wow.
And she starts liking him. She thinks he's smart and all this stuff. And then eventually she's somehow, through some mystical way, brought back to 1888 in London.
And then solves the murder
and well, no, he tries to kill her.
Ah, okay.
And somehow Superman finds her. He's Superman. Brings her back. And she figures it out just too late, because like she realizes that a nickname for John is Jack. And that's how she figures it out. And he's got the dagger up and he's ready to kill her. And
that's so cool.
Superman's, you know.
The Lois Lane stories are awesome.
Yeah, I know. This period especially. This is probably 15 cent cover price. So $69.70.
Yeah,
and
in that
era.
era.
And that was the best Lois Lane era. I think she was drawn the best then. And that's no slight against either Kurt Swan or Kurt Schaffenberger, because both of them are, I'm a huge fan of both, especially Kurt.
Nice.
Who actually did the cover on the next book I'm going to show. I think this is the only one that I brought from, I chose this one as a representative of the Legion era that I like so much. And it has a flying car on the cover. I mean, it's not a Legion cover, it's a Superboy cover, but the flying car on the cover just does it for me.
Yeah. Reminds me actually of Flubber.
But this is the first appearance of the Legion of Substitute Heroes, who I absolutely adore.
Okay.
I've always liked them. They're the underdog of the underdogs when it comes to
So they're the C team.
They're the BCD team, okay? And it was hilarious how in the 80s that Keith Giffen turned them into an absolute comedy show.
You know, what the funny thing is, like, they would be good characters for, James Gunn.
James Gunn?
Would love that kind of...
Well, yeah.
He likes those kind of characters.
Okay, yes. A Chlorophyll Kid and a Fire Lad and a Stone Boy would be perfect for him.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, anyways, this is Adventure Comics 306. I have 2 copies of this. I recently upgraded one. And here we go. There's the flying clock, the flying car. It's kind of like He's the Beast.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it's a Mixoplick book.
Okay.
He ends up, he's the guy in the end.
So Mixoplix is doing all this.
Doing all the magic stuff, but he's but I liked it at the bottom there, and it says, you know, extra, the Legion of Substitute Heroes introducing. So it's the first appearance of Polar Boy, Night Girl, Chlorophyll Kid, and that sounds like a Western guy. It's the Chlorophyll Kid. I am green. You know, and then there's Stone Boy and Night Girl. Fire Lad, sorry, was the one. I've said Night Girl twice. They're all fantastic characters, and if you know your Legion lore, you know that Night Girl ends up marrying Cosmic Boy.
Cosmic Boy, yeah.
Cosmic Boy, and that Polar Boy ends up leader of the Legion at some point. Oh, wow. The rest of them all stay on the substitutes, and they keep going. I didn't bring it, but one of my favorite Legion of Substitutes stories is DC Comics Presents 59, Superman and the Legion of Substitute Heroes. Okay. Ambush Bug gets there.
Oh, okay.
And it's a riot. The book is just a riot. Mike at Lunch Money showed it on his channel once, and I sent him a message saying, "You've got to read this book. You are going to laugh."
So that's the first appearance of Ambush Bug, right?
No, the first appearance of Ambush Bug was actually in DC Comics Presents.
Okay,
but so, it was against the new Doom Patrol book.
I know what you're talking. Yeah, I know the one.
I think it's 53. His second appearance, though, was in Supergirl, the 1983 series, number 16.
Okay.
And it's hilarious because he spends the whole time thinking Superman has been gender swapped. He thinks Supergirl is Superman.
Okay.
And it turned into a woman somehow. So he keeps acting like
he's Superman. That's funny.
This next one is an Adventure Comics book as well, but it predates the Legion in the sense that it's before 300. But obviously, it's after 247. I mean, but
this is an old book.
But this one has a 10-cent cover price. This is 1962. It's just before it became 12 cents because
61, 62.
Because the 12-cent cover, 300 had a 12-cent cover, and so did 298. So, because I've read them recently. So.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the first appearance of Bizarro Mixoplick. Venture 286.
And I like the fact that they write his name in the blocks.
Well, see, Bizarro Mixoplick goes back if he says his name forwards. Because they're backwards on everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody trying to make him say, I can't even begin to pronounce it backwards.
How you do that?
You know. And the next one is also Action Comics. I'm sorry I have a lot of Action Comics, but it is a large...
you got cool books. So just
it's a large part of my life, in my collecting
These are all good books, actually. I like these ones.
This one, I recently picked up. And if you are a person who believes in cameos as first appearances, it's technically the first appearance of Supergirl.
Okay, yes.
If you believe in full appearances, then 252 is your man. Obviously, it's 251. And Rip Van's Superman is on the cover. Mm-hmm. It's a Red Kryptonite story where he ends up looking old. Mm. And, of course, you know, every time Superman looks old, he's got 15 places he has to be, both as Clark Kent and Superman. Mm-hmm. So whenever Red Kryptonite's involved, it just makes for a wacky story. Mort Weisinger must have had a hell of a time at work. Coming up with all these ideas. Because even though he didn't write the stories, he came up with a lot of the plots.
Kind of ideas, yeah.
You know
what's interesting about this one, though? The Supergirl in it is different.
Yes, she's got a red bottom, a red skirt instead of the blue skirt that's on the cover.
Yeah.
So you can even make an argument that it's the first appearance of the red skirted Supergirl, only appearance until
much later,
Adventure Comics, when they started doing all the Supergirl outfit changes.
Costumes, yeah.
Yep. And that began. Well, let's see. Adventure 381 was 69. Not much, I know. And 4 issues later was the first 15 cents. So there's only 4. But what most people don't realize is that first appearance on 381 of Supergirl as a solo person was also only the 4th appearance of Batgirl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. They didn't really use her much, I guess.
No, she was used one World's Finest book and 2 Batman books at the time. And not long after, I think it was the next month, she was in a Brave and the Bold issue with Wonder Woman and Batman, where where Wonder Woman and Batgirl were fighting over who got to date Batman.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Next one, another recent big purchase. We're going to go to Marvel now. This is a Marvel book. Yeah, a Marvel book. Yeah. It's impressive.
After Superman and doing all these Superman and Legion books, there is one Marvel series I am trying to finish the run for, and that is Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, wow. That's ambitious.
And,
that's a big series.
Well, I've got about half.
Oh, nice.
Already. Most Conans can be found in dollar bins. Okay?
Yes.
A good amount of them can be found in dollar bills.
But
There's not a lot of keys.
Not this one.
But not this one. I got this off the wall. This is the one, and sorry for all you good girl people out there. She's fully clothed in this one in real full armor. But this is the first appearance of Red Sonja, Conan the Barbarian, number 23.
And it is truly her first appearance. I don't know why they said 24 is her first.
She is on 2 full pages in here. That is more than a cameo. I'm sorry, a cameo to me is one shot.
Panel maybe where they
one panel,
and not even a full thing. Yeah, it's like
Sorry guys, I do have another action.
Oh yeah.
This one I got recently from ding my comic shop.
Comic shop.
Yes, I've been watching Alan's channel for a while. Okay. This one is, well, actually, this is probably one of the top 3 that I paid for because once you do the conversion.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and this one I got nailed for, this is the one time I got nailed
on the customs.
Nailed on the customs, and that was
hate that.
fun. But this is from Action Comics 340. It's the first appearance of the Parasite, who is rumored to be in the next movie.
Oh, wow.
In a small bit in a post-credit scene. So, but the post-credit scene allegedly is a good minute some long.
Okay.
But this is a book. If you are an investor, you might want to look for this one because I have a feeling that this is, as we get closer to the gun movie, we're going to get more.
For what it is, it's actually still pretty affordable. It's,
he is a major I got that for $140 American.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and if it was a Marvel book, it'd be like $500.
Exactly, easily. That is one advantage to Silver Age DC that's not Batman, or a big one like a Brave and the Bold 28, for example, is that it's still reasonably priced. You can get most books between $5 and $20 depending on your seller and your condition. I mean, like you can negotiate a bit.
Yeah.
I usually get like Alan has seen. I'm reasonably good. I'm really reasonably good friends with a lot of the regular dealers.
And you get your little discount.
And I get little discounts.
He gets the Matt discount. And I was leveraging that, by the way.
Yes, I know.
I was totally leveraging that.
Next one is a familiar book for a lot of people. It's a Superman book, but this one is familiar for a lot of people. It is a very famous Neil Adams cover, but everybody gets confused by the big number on it. It's Superman 233, not number 1. It's just, he's the number 1 best-selling comics magazine, and that's what the 1 is referring to. But they did put the 1 to get people's idea because in this book, they started depowering him. Denny O'Neil was writing with Neil Adams. They felt that Silver Age Superman was way too powerful. Yeah. He could move stars. He could do basically, unless kryptonite got him or magic, nothing could stop him from doing anything. They were trying to get more realistic stories. This is the book where all the kryptonite was turned into iron.
Now, if you search Superman 1, you get that one a lot. You know?
Yes, that's true. That is true. My favorite part of this book is the one where the guy pulls out the kryptonite that's turned into, he doesn't know it's turned into iron, and Superman grabs it and eats it.
Oh, wow.
And he calls it a nice light snack.
Wow.
I wonder if they paid the Coffee Crisp company for
yeah,
that
exactly.
Okay. My next 2 here are DC Comics Presents, and they're both pretty big ones.
They're the ones that once you said it,
yeah,
these are the 2 that I thought immediately.
Yeah, these are the 2 biggies from the run. This is my favorite because I'm also, when I was a kid, I was a big fan of the cartoon. This is Superman and He-Man, Masters of the Universe. It's the first appearance of He-Man in comics. It's DC Comics Presents 47. And this was not, surprisingly, the last book I got for the run. I actually got this before 30-some other books on the run. I did get this on an auction from the only auction I've ever done on my comic book shop.
When did you pick this one up?
Last summer, because that's when I
So
finished.
you probably got a good price on it.
I got it. I got it when all is said and done in Canadian. When this one slipped through without customs.
Okay.
When all is said and done, whenever I got it for $174 Canadian.
That's really cheap.
That's including,
That's
to
so
me,
cheap.
that's including the delivery.
Yeah, that's really
The
cheap.
shipping.
Considering that book went to thousands of dollars.
I saw a
COVID
copy at one of Rob's shows.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a copy. It was being held by the guy in Carlton Place, Dave Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Martin had it, and he had it for $500, and my copy's in better shape than his was. And he sold it. I almost bought that copy because I was trying to negotiate at the time, but I was.
But good that
it was
you bought
tax time. It was tax time again last year.
Yeah.
So I had another big bill, and it was.
But it's good that you bought it when you did, because that's the price had just tanked on it.
Yes.
That He-Man show
It's slowly
really
going up.
destroyed.
Yeah, well, Kevin Smith, I love Kevin Smith stuff, okay? I love Clerks, but he really blew it with the Masters of the Universe.
That was terrible. I was like
He-Man was barely in it.
Yeah, no, it was
the Tila show.
I couldn't even watch it. It was painful. Okay.
And this one here is DC Comics Presents 26. It is the first appearance. It is Superman and Green Lantern in a story a story so dull that watching paint dry is more exciting. But the insert is the first appearance of the new Teen Titans, and it's the first appearance of Cyborg, Starfire, and Raven, and it's the first time that the Beast Boy is known as the Changeling.
Oh, okay.
Okay, he was Beast Boy before that. He's Beast Boy now, I hear.
Usually in the Teen Titan Go show.
They brought back the Beast Boy,
yeah.
and the current Titans, he's Beast Boy again.
Yeah,
but he was the Changeling in the 80s, and that's what I remember more, because he was trying to get away from that whole Beast Boy thing. He was, his origin was he was a kid who got sick, and his dad gave him an experimental drug that turned him green and gave him the powers, and then his parents died, and he was adopted by.
Wasn't the experimental drug taken from like all these DNA from all the different
animals and stuff? And it was he didn't have a chance to test it all. Turn his skin green.
Of course, that's what you use untested drugs on kids all the time.
And then he gets adopted by Rita Farr, who's Elastigirl in the Doom Patrol, who ends up marrying Steve Dayton later.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's why he calls him his stepdad.
Oh,
in all of like Steve Dayton is still alive. Elastigirl died with the original Doom Patrol, but Steve Dayton, at least in the 80s, was still alive, and they had a very strained relationship. But he was still around. He still had the mental health. The next two are two of my favorite Superman books from the Superman series. Okay. This one, the first one I'm going to show, I read as a kid, and it fascinated the hell out of me when I was 6 years old.
I read this recently, by the way.
Yeah. I have the t-shirt.
Oh, cool.
I have a poster of that one signed by Jim Shooter. But anyway, we'll get to that. Okay. So this one is Superman 205. It's the origin and original first appearance of Black Zero.
Oh, move it like here.
Okay,
one second,
here. Let's see here.
Let's see if we. I'm going to zoom into you.
I like this one. Well,
Let's see if we can. No, wait. 1 sec. You got to learn the comic.
Yes.
See?
Oh, there we go.
It's like a skill you learn. Yeah.
Black Zero in this book claims to be the person who blew up Krypton.
Ah, okay.
And he comes there threatening to blow up Earth.
Oh, wow.
And Superman cannot stop this guy. He does everything he can. Black Zero manages to infiltrate the U.S. government. He's in the war room. He's in everything. And Superman could barely detect. He's got 2 hearts. And that's what gave him away.
Oh, okay.
He had 2 heartbeats.
The double beat. Yeah.
He had the double beat. But he was so much power. Felt like he made Brainiac look like a wimp compared to what I think. So how was he defeated? This is what caught my eye as a kid. Well, he destroyed Krypton. There is a person in the Phantom Zone by the name of Jaxer.
Okay.
I don't know how many people are
I'm
familiar
not familiar
with him.
Jaxer. Okay.
Jaxer is the bald guy who he was on screen. He was in the Superman movie with Henry Cavill. Jaxer was in the movie, he was the bearded guy who helped Zod. Like, he was like, I'm your right-hand man kind of guy.
Oh, okay.
Okay? But in this case, Jaxer is the most evil criminal in Kryptonian history.
Oh, wow.
He blew up the second moon.
Oh, wow.
That's how he ended up in the Phantom Zone. But he asked Superman to let him out for 24 hours to help him when he saw that Superman's having a problem, because as much as he blew up his home planet, he's
So he's on the same side.
And the way he's defeated is that Jax-Ur ends up getting exposed to red kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
This particular red kryptonite makes him keep changing shapes into snake-like beings.
Okay, that's a weird one.
He turns into Medusa.
Oh,
and he turns Black Zero to stone.
Wow.
And then smashes the statue.
Wow, brutal.
And Superman's like, how dare you? And he goes, I don't have an oath against killing.
Yeah.
And therefore, and Jax-Ur, for once, keeps his word and lets Superman put him back in the Phantom Zone.
Wow.
That story, as a kid, is one of the reasons why I read comic books.
That's a pretty cool story.
That one just blew my mind away.
Mm-hmm.
The Medusa scared the hell out of me. But Kurt Swan, this is a Neil Adams cover, but Kurt Swan did the interior art. And you can tell it's Neil Adams just by looking at Superman.
Yeah.
But, and this is probably why I like Kurt Swan so much.
That's very cool.
Next book is one I'm sure that everybody who's into Superman for sure is familiar with, but even those that don't, it's a pretty big one. Jim Shooter wrote it. Kurt Swan and Carmine Infantino both did the art. Swan did the pencils, Infantino did the inks. And so you all probably have guessed right now. It's one that to this day, when I discuss it, my 11-year-old daughter can't believe the result. She goes, what do you mean it's a tie?
It's like,
I said, it's so nobody could win the bet.
Yeah,
it's Superman 199. This one is particularly nice to me because it is probably the Silver Age key.
It's the most iconic.
It's the iconic one. It's the first race between Flash and Superman. You've got Carmine Infantino. You've got Kurt Swan. This, what surprises me, though, the most on this cover is that Batman's supposed to be Superman's best friend, and look who he's cheering for. Okay.
What a jerk.
Yeah. Especially since at this point, well, I mean, this is the era, too, where Batman took a backhand to Robin, right? That's become a meme, right?
Yeah, it's funny.
Now, these last two books are purely here because I like them. I hope you like them, too.
Okay.
This one here is the climax. The first one is, to me, the climax of this entire run. This book is why Paul Levitz, to me, is one of the best writers there's ever been. Okay? He's very underrated. People always forget him. But there was a reason why he was DC's editor-in-chief for a few years. Okay? This is Legion of Superheroes 294. And in this is the penultimate issue of The Great Darkness. This is literally 2 years in the making.
So this is what they should do in terms of making movies. This is like the Thanos moments, but with Darkseid.
Yeah. And it was so cool how they had to realize that the only way they discovered that it, how they recognized it was Darkseid was the fact, again, this is where, like I said, Levitz thinks on so many levels. Mon-El was the one who told them, and he knew him because of the 1,000 years he spent in the Phantom Zone.
Oh, wow.
And then once he said that, Brainiac 5 was like, oh, yes, and then started doing all the facts about it.
Yeah.
But the reason this is, it wasn't just the fact that they win, and that this is the last issue of a 5-issue arc, but that stuff in this went back even a year before. But a year later, in Legion Annual 3, you get yet even more meta thinking. Are you familiar with a group called the Fatal Five?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that Darkseid, well, Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl, we all know they got married and they had kids. Well, Saturn Girl could swear to God she was carrying twins.
Okay.
Only there was only one baby when she had it.
Oh, okay.
Darkseid stole the other one send him back in time, he's Validus.
Oh, wow.
You know, but it made sense.
Okay.
Like when you think about it, what is Validus's power besides being invulnerable? He has mental powers and lightning that comes out of.
Okay, makes sense.
Levitz took a character that didn't have an origin and made an origin for him.
That's really awesome.
That had a great story.
That's cool.
And the last book is from the first series that actually was called Supergirl. It's Supergirl 3.
I like this one, by the way.
I picked this one. This one I picked because I just like the cover.
I would buy this just for the cover. I think this is beautiful.
It's a sad Supergirl because everybody else is inside enjoying the dance because they got dates and Supergirl doesn't have a date. Why doesn't Supergirl have a date? Because when she's dressed as Linda, she's in acting school at the time, and she was so busy with practicing for her play that her guy she'd been dating said, "I'm tired of waiting around for you. There's other girls that I could go with." Like, I'm sorry.
With Supergirl.
It's Supergirl. Supergirl.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I'm sorry. He obviously didn't know. But, I mean, think about it. Change the hair color. It's the same girl.
Yeah, yeah. Supergirl.
You know?
It's a really sexy cover, too, actually.
It's a very nice looking cover, and I also get a kick out of the little cat that's licking her hand.
It looks like a tiger, actually, like a white tiger.
Yeah.
But a kitten version, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. But what surprises me, if they're going to use a cat with Supergirl, why didn't they use Streaky?
That makes sense.
You know,
that actually makes sense.
They actually seem to have forgotten outside of Crypto, and even Crypto disappeared for a while. But they seem to, during the
like
Bronze
one of those
Age,
cats that doesn't really appear that much.
Well, in the Bronze Age, they seem to have forgotten about the Super Pets.
Yeah, yeah. I like the Super Pets.
The Super Pets were pretty big in the 60s, but then they didn't even, like in this book here, in the Legion Darkseid book, they literally called everybody back. At this point, Supergirl was a reservist. She was literally only bug me if it's really bad, and they did. They called in the Wanderers, Dev-Ems in this book, the one that that I just bought the first appearance of not too long ago, when we were from that guy. He's even in here. They brought the Wanderers They brought the Heroes of Lalor back. They brought
everybody back. Yeah.
Everybody back to fight Darkseid. I mean, we're talking about in the Great Darkness saga, he moved, what he ended up doing was going to a yellow star system and transposing a planet from there with the planet Daxam. So all 4 billion Daxamites got Kryptonian powers.
Oh, wow.
The difference is they didn't have the serum that Mon-El had, so they were able to defeat them with lead.
Oh, interesting.
But Darkseid also, while they were super powerful, they reshaped the planet into his likeness.
Oh, wow.
Like, there was a lot going on in this.
Crazy. Okay.
It's one of the reasons I like that story so much. And so those are the books I brought tonight.
No, those are good ones. So what book are you chasing? Like, what would be your next big one you're going after?
Well, the next big one, I really want the first appearance. I want 252.
252, yeah.
252. I am trying my best to put money aside for that. It never seems to work, but one thing or another keeps coming along. But I'll get there. I'm not.
I showed you a copy, actually.
Yes.
That's about $1,000. Like, this is the way I think. Okay, I'm teaching you guys the way I think. How do you get a big book? Okay, so that's $100 a month.
Yeah.
Think of it that way, and just put somehow in your budget. Put $100 away, and in a year you'll buy it.
Yeah, I was doing that. Then I got the tax bill.
Okay, well,
that's what I'm saying. No, I was working towards it. I know that
we have to pay for Trudeau.
Actually, in this case, it was Francois Legault.
Yeah.
I actually got money back from the Canadians.
Oh wow! Okay, that's nice.
But that's just it is in one hand out the other.
Yeah.
But then there's usually a little bit more.
Yeah.
The price to pay to live in the La République. Anyway. So yeah, those are the books I brought. That's kind of what I'm into.
But yeah, that 252 right now is a good time to buy it. It's actually a little bit soft. I mean, everything's a little bit soft.
Yes, I know. It has gone down since the Flash movie. Which is
sad. I've been telling Matt to watch the Flash movie. I like the Flash movie. It was a good movie. He's gonna watch it.
As we get closer with these rumors of the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow storyline going,
I think it will go up in value.
It'll go up in value again. So I really got to find a way try and get my hands on it sooner rather than later.
Yeah. But
Woman of Tomorrow's a good one too, people. If you haven't read it, that's a good story too.
Yeah. So okay, well, I know you're not on YouTube. You're not on Instagram.
No, I am on Instagram.
Oh, you're on Instagram. Yeah, you actually
I am Lord_Reptilius. It has to do with.
You actually have 2 accounts, right? Is it just Lord Reptilius?
There's just the Lord Reptilius.
Okay, because sometimes it comes up as Lord Reptilius, and then sometimes it comes up as your name for me.
Oh, that's because of Facebook. Because they're connected.
Ah, that's why. I was wondering why it was doing that. I was like,
yeah, no. Sometimes it depends on where I'm looking from.
Okay.
If I'm doing it through.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I will put the link to your. Do you mind if I put the link?
You can put the link to my Instagram.
So you can check him out on Instagram and see some of his stuff. And
I tend to do 1 a day.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I tend to make a snarky little comment about each book too, just because
that's always fun.
I'm a wannabe comedian.
Okay.
Well, not that funny, but.
Okay, so yeah, so thanks again for visiting my house.
Thanks for having me.
I actually really like. Treat. To me, it's more of a treat for me, believe it or not, because every time I bring people to my house, they go, "Oh, okay, comics." Yeah. It's just like they're not interested. To bring somebody that actually cares about comics is really great. So I really enjoyed having you come. And thanks for doing this interview as well.
Oh, thanks for having me. Actually, you say that about the YouTube, but. My wife has sort of been saying, you might be good at this.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. I always try to encourage people to do YouTube.
It's more a case of, do I have the energy and the time?
Like, I think you would be really good at it because you could do like, one thing that does really well and would do better than my channel by far is just explaining the books and just doing that little history that you gave. Like so many people don't read the books, right? Yeah. And just having that little history, I think really people would love it.
Well, I've always liked the story. I like the stories. I like the stories behind the stories. I like reading.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of like Giordano interviews, Aparo interviews. Like Jim Aparo's another guy who I really like art style wise. I mean. No one could draw a guy with a pipe like you could.
Okay, cool.
among other things, but that was his little running gag. He put a guy with a pipe in everything because he was a pipe smoker himself. And
oh, that's nice.
But like I like the Captain America stories. I read a lot of reprints. Captain America, but also Captain Marvel is who I was really thinking of. Yeah. I was looking at the book here.
Yeah. The Fawcett stuff.
DC having access to that, I'm surprised they haven't printed more.
Yeah, you'd think they'd almost want to reprint the whole Golden Age series or something.
I mean, I have the collection of the Silver Age one.
The Bronze Age.
Bronze Age. Yeah, sorry, the 1973 series.
Yeah. That's good.
But it's not the same. I really,
the Golden Age one's better. Yeah.
Auto Binder, or is it Binder?
Binder, I thought.
Okay.
I would say Auto Binder.
Well, we'll go with Binder. Auto Binder is, of course, the same guy who created the Legion and Supergirl. So he's, and he's a huge writer of Captain Marvel. I don't think he was the creator, though. That was
C.C. Beck.
It was C.C. Beck?
I think it was, yeah.
He didn't write his own creator. That's surprising. Anyway.
He did a few stories.
Yeah, see, but as I said, it's like, I like knowing the stories behind the stories. That's kind of why I do what you guys say, I don't know who this is.
Yeah.
I like to know.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, no, you're good. You're a good Googler.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway, thanks for having me on, Alan.
Yeah, anytime. So that's it for this one. There might be future Matt interviews in the future. You never know. I might bring him back, or if he might never leave. Actually, you never know. You never know. So thanks again for watching, everyone. Bye for now.